Is anybody there? Can anybody hear me? Anybody? Bueller? 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 Nobody's probably. Oh, good. I have a fan blowing. Can you guys hear the fan? I'm hoping not. Like, it would be awesome if I could do this with a fan blowing on me. But do you hear like a. Great. That makes me so happy. I really need to do something about like this nasty grossness, don't I? Like, get something just to put like right here rather than be like, oh, that's that. All right. So we're working on our ogre here. We're going to be doing the wood bits and the bone bits. Hope everybody's staying safe and being all nice and COVIDy. So we're getting close to this guy. I think after this, it's just leather, right? So, somebody pointed out in the last stream, that we forgot to do the fur on his ankles. So somebody pointed out that we. Yeah, all right. So that we forgot to do the fur trim around his ankles. We can kind of knock that out real quick. We'll knock that out. It was just our Let me think about the best way to do this. All right, so it's our blue. It's our nightmare black that apparently got clogged again. Like, seriously, folks. Like, it's just like comical how much this thing gets clogged. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand. Like its only job is to get clogged. Absolutely crazy. Alright. Oh, we're doing a lot of it apparently. I was just going to use a tiny little bit. So we're going to do that. I think all we really need for these ankles is probably. Really? Seriously? I don't know what's up with these. This is a little linen white. And then I think we used a little bit of red and yellow. I bumped my camera with my mic. That's like stupid. I think we used a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow. We're just going to knock these out. This will take 5 minutes or something silly like that. Alrighty. And then we'll move on to the wood and the bone. This is a pretty easy one today. Alrighty. So I'm just going to paint my ankles real quick here. We're going to mix up some colors. I don't remember exactly what we did last time. We know we kind of muddied up these colors here. There we go. We'll do kind of a. Just put a base coat here. That might be a little more green than I want, but we'll make it work. Is everybody out there happy and healthy and safe? No major issues, hopefully. It's kind of a crazy time we live in, I'll tell you. Alright, we're just gonna knock this out. We're gonna do this approximately like the fur up top and those kind of blues and whites and grays. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to be done with this guy. Yeah, it is a good time for painting. So, a lot of people are like, it makes the most sense for me to paint right now, but I have no motivation to paint right now. Alright, we're going to take a little bit of this and just kind of put this in our darkest areas. We're going to put it some back in here. Put it kind of back under by his ankles. We're just kind of giving these darker places a little more shadow. Underneath here, back here, back here. Now we're going to take some of this base and mix a little white into it. We're going to start working up there, and we're just going to do the nice thing about this for down here, it's definitely not like a highlight of the model. And that brush is splitting bad today. I don't have a lot of paint on it though, that's part of it. And I'm using it in a way that it's not really meant to be used. There we go. If you get a little bit on your skin here, don't freak out. Just go back and touch it up later. I'm just coming through and just highlighting this fur real quick. You don't really need to take it up as bright as the loincloth, because the loincloth is a much more major feature on him, and we really don't want to make this super bright where it draws the viewer's attention, right? This is not something that we want them really paying attention to. Like, not a highlight of the sculpt, not really a good detail. So we're going to do a couple layers here, but we're not going to go, probably just going to do this one last one here and call it good. All I've done is mix a little more white, and then we're just catching less and less here. This is one of those you can kind of spend as much time or as little as you want on this right here. You want your legs to be fantastic and kind of be a focal point? Well, they could be a focal point. I don't really recommend it, but you know, they could. I'm focusing this kind of where the light's gonna hit a little more, edges of stuff. With fur, it's almost like metal where it tends to collect on the edges more. Okay. I feel like that's probably good. I don't really want to do more on that. I feel like for what we're doing with this guy, that's appropriate. Alright, time for wood. Boop. By the way, this is the AK wet palette. AK Interactive wet palette. This is my favorite wet palette, but it is small. I don't really need a big one, and I like this one because the papers stay flat. The papers are stupid cheap, even though, yes, I could use parchment. It's just a heck of a lot easier to have a pre-cut size paper. I think it does better job than some of the other ones. And the whole thing just isn't terribly expensive. We're going to use some russet brown, paper russet brown. We are going to use some of our clear green here. So the interesting thing about wood, ooh, that needs to be shaken, doesn't it? Stick this in the paint mixer. Ooh, see that wobble? That's the paint mixer wobbling the whole table. Isn't that crazy? Okay. I don't know if I've ever used this. There's just so many different ways you can do wood, is the thing. Just clearing out the tip here. There we go. Much better. A little bit of green and a little bit of linen. So if you look at wood, kind of as long as you stay in earth tones, you can make almost anything look like wood. Like it's super non-specific. Um, so the idea is you need to maintain kind of the streakiness of the wood, and that just stay in kind of earth tones. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of our. I'm using a big brush here. This is like a craft brush. And we're going to mix a little bit. Oh, you know what? We've got some of our black over here. We're going to bring that over here just in case, too. So that was that Nightmare Black, just in case we want to go dark on something. So we've got our brown. This is brown and green. We're going to put some, if you look, there's oftentimes a lot of greens in trees. And then we're going to take some of our black here. We're going to mix it here. Mix a little bit of our green here. We're just trying to get some earthy tones out on the palette. We're going to take some of our white, mix it with some of our brown. There we go, I like that. We're going to take some of our white with our green, our brown, some more white. There we go. So we've just got, there we go. We just got a variety, and then we're just going to kind of, I recommend you not be super careful. I don't know if that's the right word. Like, you just kind of have to go for it. And I find it's easier to kind of feel my way through wood than it is to kind of like plan everything. That's looking super minty green. That's okay right now. We're just kind of playing with it a little bit. Now we're going to come back and let's get all the white off my brush. That's probably doing it somewhat. Let's take some of this brown with the green here. And then pretty much from now on, what we want to try to do is maintain directional strokes in this direction. What that's going to do is it's going to help make sure that we don't have strokes where the color goes across the grain. Because what's never going to happen is we're not going to have a splotch of color like this. It's going to kind of stay in the direction of the grain. So I would say one of the most important things when painting wood is just keep your brush strokes in the direction of the grain. And then just try to build up interesting earth tones. So greens, browns, tans, blacks, not blacks, blacks. Let's take a little bit of our straight green here. And all we're doing is just adding visual interest here so that as we layer up through these browns and stuff, that we don't have just brown. Okay. You get some on the skin, don't worry about it. just plan to touch up after we do everything. So once we finish the leather next week, the next step is basically go back and touch up any skin areas you got, anything like that. So you can see all we've done really is just work our way through greens and browns. Now we're coming back in. We're significantly lighter here. This is where you want a light touch. Focus mainly on the tops. Try not to get down in the cracks. You can kind of use the side of your brush a little. Sure you get around the edges of things. Edges always, you get edges brighter, they just pop better. They tend to collect light and more light in real life anyways, so it's not necessarily unrealistic. Okay. The reason we don't want to do too red of a tone here is that the leather's going to be fairly red, and we don't want to do that. So we mix a little bit of white in that color, and then we're just continuing to go up here. This is not going to take too much longer, actually, guys. We're just, you can see we're getting pretty wood-like here. The basic idea is that we need to introduce some other tones besides just browns. Throw some greens in there. If we weren't doing a really warm leather color, you can throw some reds in there, but we want it to contrast a little bit, right? All right, now we're just going to go pretty much straight to our linen white. It's going to leave a little bit of browns in there. Notice I'm really not cleaning my brush too much. This is because I like the effect when doing some of this stuff that blending some of the colors on my brush leaves. All right. So at this point, that's pretty much wood, guys. Like kind of a grayish green. Yeah, we're going to do another paint with me. I'm not exactly sure what. So if you want this a little more to the brown tones, you can always come back and just take your paint, make a real watery wash, and just kind of bring in some of the brown tones if you want. Yeah, we're going to do another one. I'm not sure what yet. The other one might be a little more airbrushy. So I just glazed some of my browns back over that, putting a little bit of my whites back in while it's still wet. Just real carefully with the side of my brush. Just it'll help them wet blend a little bit. All right, and then that's pretty much wood, guys. So browns, greens, and then work up through your whites. Just don't add in too much of the blues. Those are in the shadows. That's okay. We don't really want that anywhere else. Otherwise, one of the things to remember is that you keep your brush strokes aligned with the grain of the wood. If we go this way, it's going to look really strange. Keep your brush strokes aligned here. Use, as you start highlighting, use more of the side of your brush. Okay, so don't try to highlight wood grain if it has a lot of natural grain in it with the tip of your brush and stuff like that. You're just asking for it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the bone. Reaper bone triad, bone shadow, aged bone, polished bone. You know what? You could just work up from a brown to a creamy ivory if you wanted to. I just really like the look of this particular bone triad. So it's usually what I use. Um, it's just like putting the easy button on it. We will go up to linen white probably, because it'll make it pop. Alrighty. So we're going to tackle his bone here in front. And I'll show you what we're going to do, but starting out, we just want to base coat his bone. You'll notice I don't thin real heavily. If I can get away with not thinning, I don't. Because, or if I can get away with not thinning, don't. There we go. I don't thin if I don't need to. How about that? That's a better way to phrase it. Mix a little bit of our black, blue black. Just put this kind of in the deepest, darkest shadows here. The reason I don't thin unless I have to is that it takes longer. Like, I don't like to spend forever on a piece if I can help it. Okay. After this layer is good and dry, this is where you really actually want blending. Very light colors is super difficult. So if we tried to layer up through these, it would be quite hard. So instead, we're gonna cheat. Camera wiggling. This is a makeup brush. This is the concealer one. As you can see, it has seen better days. I accidentally let the handle soak one time and it just started cracking off. But I haven't been to Walmart because of quarantine and stuff to get new ones. So that's okay. The tip is still good. I cleaned it in windshield washer fluid. That actually works really well. And then what the advantage here is that this allows us a pretty precise application of basically dry brushing and stippling. We're gonna mix a little bit of our aged bone and our what was that bone shadow. We're gonna mix a little bit of those, and then we're just gonna dab it off almost to a dry brush texture. It doesn't have it can be that, but it doesn't have to be. And then we're just gonna focus on doing that. There we go. We're gonna do that same mix one more time. If you get a little bit on your fur, it's worth the speed increase here. To do this, the other trick here is don't ever, while you're doing this technique with the makeup brushes, don't ever get your brush wet. Don't rinse your brush off. You're counting on a lot of the mixing in the brush to happen. Okay. Otherwise, painting up white, it's actually like reasonably shaded light colors. Look, I mean, just takes forever and a day. So I just prefer to cheat. You can see that's coming together pretty fast. We're gonna mix a little bit of our polished bone in it. We're just mixing some of the. Why is that camera wiggling so bad today? Um, this is just polished bone with a little bit of the aged bone. If it starts to look a little chalky, that's the nice thing about bones. They can look a little chalky. Okay. At this point, I'm just straight polished bone. I'm doing a smaller and smaller area every time here. Okay. Alrighty. And then you can see we've gotten a really nice look here with pretty minimal effort. Okay. We're going to take now, at this point, we need to take an actual brush, take a little bit of our linen white. We're just going to catch a few little places. We're going to catch just right in here. We just little dots give it a little bit of visual interest. There we go. If you feel like you've gone too far at some point, or you want to clean something up, you can always take a brush and kind of clean up the edges a little bit. The advantage, though, of what we did there is that it's stupid fast. And that normally what happens as you move up through lighter colors is you fight getting decent turns. I'm just kind of reinforcing some things by hand. You can spend as much time as you want here or not. There we go. I'm just working out some of the, like I don't love this over here. So I'm just trying to blend it a little. There we go. Alright guys. And that's it for the bone. Like, again, the key there is just these makeup brushes. They just make certain things so much easier. So if you like a more aged bone, don't go up as bright. You can add a little yellow into it and it'll look great too. So, alrighty guys. That's going to be it for tonight. I have actually not had any sleep since yesterday. So I am about to go sleep. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything? Bueller? To clean these makeup brushes, this is just a little windshield washer fluid. Did you say airbrushing is easier? When you're starting out, no, airbrushing is super frustrating for most people. For me, I find it faster because what I can do, like on this skin, okay, even after we finish this class, I will go back and airbrush some of this skin, again, because I feel like I'll be able to get better blends, smoother blends, better colors and stuff like that, with the airbrush, just because I I work a lot with the airbrush, so I kind of know how it feels for me. Um, it really just depends on your level of comfort with the airbrush. Most people find the airbrush super frustrating when they're starting out. So just depends on if that's something you enjoy or not, really. So all right guys, we got leather next week, and then there's a couple little straps and stuff like that. We'll do those next week too. And then really that's about it. I think he's looking pretty good. I'd be happy with him. So alrighty. Thanks guys. I'm going to stay here for a moment in case there's any more questions whilst I clean up. Alright guys.